you. So, distinguished representative, on behalf of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, I would like, of course, to thank you and ISDF for the long partnership we are engaged in, and for the invitation and organizing this event to highlight the role played by women and girls in the world in building resilience at the community level. In fact, let's recognize that it's very difficult to pay fairness to this important subject in a few minutes' time, but let's try to be positive and focus on positive elements on building resilience and on few open questions. So, women and girls in invisible force of resilience, it led me to think about the invaluable contribution, as you said, in fact, to local development. Their force in building resilience is often invisible, but actually women and girls are the driving force of the Red Cross and Red Crescent work on the ground. We have next week in Addis Abeba our Pan-African conference, and of course to prepare such kind of conference we went through different of mapping and survey, and 46% of the national societies of Red Cross in Africa do recognize that the majority of the volunteers are the female, and they play a key role in supporting vulnerable people and in reducing their own vulnerability. In terms of risk reduction, I would like to take the benefit of that event and that moment to remind you that the Federation strategy is focusing on three things. First, to strengthen the systems and capacity for a timely and effective response at all levels. We insisted on the community level, and we believe that's key. To promote activities and action that mitigate the adverse effect of hazards, and to protect development projects such as health facilities from the impact of disasters. As you know, building resilience and reducing vulnerability is the two sides of the same coin. And since Margareta was offering to share stories, let me share with you a short story from what we are proud to say a few of our success stories. And it relates to their involvement, and we pay tribute to the women's contribution to the resilience. In India, for instance, as part of the risk reduction program, the Indian Red Cross Society reported to us a new program installing platforms and warehouses in flood-prone areas in the state of Bihar as part of the risk reduction initiative, as it happens in a number of places. When being asked about the key to the program's success, the Indian Red Cross told us, it lies not only in the structures that have been installed, but also in the community awareness about disaster mitigation. The program was born for the communities where women's active involvement was key. And as Margareta said, I have to say, they were forming communities, committees, conducting disaster monitoring and assessment activities, identifying local coping measures, and all of these have had a very positive impact on vulnerable groups. This story says by itself, in fact, how women and girls are visible for the resilience and for the process. Before closing my comment, I would like to share with you a few questions I had in mind when I was asked to come and give you a few ones. If women and girls are invisible, why are they? Is it normal that more than 50% of the world population can be invisible today in 2012? What does this invisibility inequality cost? And what if turnaround would it create? We have explored in our IFRC gender strategy process the reasons behind this invisibility and required action by humanitarians and UN, and are ready to share that with you. So before concluding, on behalf of the Federation, let me tell you how much we are committed to continue our partnership with UNISDF and to join forces and efforts to make women and girls an even more visible force of disaster risk reduction and community resilience worldwide. Thank you.